though I wish I were the sort of traveler who could stroll onto a transoceanic flight carrying little more than a cocktail strainer and a bullwhip. I typically spend the night before a family trip in a state of carefully concealed panic. My wife slips beneath the quilt and falls instantly asleep. I lie awake and go for roller coaster rides. Advertisement. Continue reading below. If when our van plunges into a river, which of our twin 13-year-old sons should I try to save first? Should I bring a knife in case I have to cut them free of their seat belts? Or maybe it would be better if they didn't wear seat belts, just in case? What's Lithuanian for severe leg trauma? What's Kiswahili for snake bite? Such is life inside my broken head. So, late last year, after we decide on Nicaragua for our big family vacation because we've heard that Nicaragua is like Costa Rica, great waves, low crime, friendly people, only with fewer tourists, and after I telephoned Mucal, a resort I'd heard about on the Pacific coast, and ask enough questions to convince myself that the hotel is actually a hotel and not just a website set up to steal people's credit card information, I pledged to my wife Shauna that this time I will be less of a freak. I will not overplan. I will not sign us up for 600 activities. I'll be like Anne Carson in her essay, The Anthropology of Water, when she writes, I just like to travel into the world, and stop noticing what is under the sky. Advertisement. Continue reading below. Shauna books the plane tickets. I make our sons find Nicaragua on a map. Is there cliff jumping? They ask, their benchmark for any destination. Not sure. I say, glancing over his shoulder, I promised Mom that I wouldn't over-research everything before we go. I hope, Shauna says an hour later, as she drifts off to sleep, that this time you can just be on vacation. Me too. I say. 11 minutes later I'm on my laptop googling Nicaragua stingray injuries, 2 months and a 30-minute flight from the airport in Liberia, Costa Rica. Later, we step out of a tiny 4-passenger Piper Seneca onto the tarmac of Costa Esmeralda, a brand new airstrip on Nicaragua's southwest coast. High above the airport a dozen vultures ride thermals. Wet season is just ending, and the hills around us are so green they look black. I half expect to see a 60-ton brachiosaur lumber past the terminal, its mouth full of branches. 3 immigration officers with 2 leash dogs stand over our little pile of suitcases. When the dogs get bored and lie down, I go to collect the luggage, but an officer says, leave them. The dogs must check, which is weird, because didn't the dogs just check? Inside, we stand at a little desk while a woman examines our passports. We are, it appears, the only travelers here. How many passengers come through here in a day? I ask, though in truth what I say is, in one day how many passengers you see? Advertisement. Continue reading below. Advertisement. Continue reading below. Today, the officer says, was very busy. How many persons? 35. Is that busy? Our hotel has sent a white van. Somehow our bags are already inside it. We head south on a gray brick road, dodging dogs and cows and horses and dirt bikes. We take a right, then a left, and stop in front of a set of enormous black doors. This is the entrance to Guaclico de la Isla, a new 1,670-acre private development. On the other side is our destination, the 37-room Mucal. A smiling guard waves us through. We wind down several switchbacks, the Pacific a silver platter glittering all the way to the horizon, and the driver drops us off outside a 100-foot-tall palapa. There is no front desk. Bellmen in white drive golf carts here and there. Colombian woman in khakis named Johanna jogs toward us and says, welcome to your home. This is a thing here. Apparently, we hear it several more times over the next hour, which only disorients me further, because when I'm at home I am never handed a rum cocktail while white-throated magpies shriek at my children from the canopy of a ceiba tree. Beyond the palapa, past an aquamarine swimming pool, combers break on a camel-colored beach. There is no one in the loungers around the pool. Johanna shows us the restaurant, where no one is sitting. Our son slurp pineapple juice. 5,000 dragonflies ride the wind above the palapa. Do you get the feeling? My wife whispers that we are the only people here. According to the CIA fact book, Nicaragua is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. The per capita GDP is $5,800, which ranks the country below Nigeria, Uzbekistan, and Angola. More than a third of Nicaraguan kids are not in school, and 3/4 of Nicaraguans live on less than $2 a day. What does it mean to come to a country like this on vacation? Advertisement. Continue reading below. Mughal bills itself as Nicaragua's secret luxury resort, and though pretty much everything gets sold as luxury nowadays, I admit that when we were booking our hotel, the word did have some power over me. Luxury, it's almost onomatopoeic, that elegant X sandwiched by those two U's, as though they're about to have an upscale threesome. Secret luxury, sounded nice. It sounded like fine sheets and giant shower heads. But what really is the promise of something advertised as luxury? Is it marble and granite, glittering pools and high cuisine? Is it stuff? Or is it something larger, something less tangible? We have rented a villa on the beach. The hotel website calls our bathroom a liquid temple, and indeed it is larger than the room where I slept during my sophomore year in college with 5 other guys. The ceiling above our bed is 30 feet high. Outside, the sea engulfs the sun. The boys do backflips into the little pool on our patio, while the sky turns an imperial violet. At dinner we see a few other guests, which makes us feel less uneasy, because, as Shauna points out, you don't want a resort to be crowded, but you don't want it to be The Shining, either, and we are walking along the beach back to our room, our heads full of rum and our stomachs full of grilled fish, when the power goes out. The resort disappears. Gone are the lights of the little thatch roof bohios high on the hill to the north. Gone are the lights in the mega palapa behind us. No boats out at sea, no flashlights on the beach. Advertisement. Continue reading below. Advertisement. Continue reading below. I'm here to relax, I remind myself. I'm here to be cool. This might be a message from the universe. The waves crash and crash and crash. The Milky Way glows huge and soft overhead. Wow, Shauna says, and sits down in the sand. Wow, says our son Owen. Am I doing it? Am I simply traveling into the world, and stopping, noticing what is under the sky? Can I go body surfing? Asks our son Henry. I stand in the velvet Nicaraguan night and try to make out my son's face. He's thinking, starlight, tube waves, epic memories. I'm thinking, rip currents, stingrays, 3 hours to a hospital in Managua, how about? I say, we wait until daylight to try the waves. Eventually the power flicks back on, and the boys settle for resuming backflips into the pool. I examine the iPad the resort has installed next to the bed. Surf lessons, golf lessons, yoga lessons, paddleboarding, deep-sea fishing, dinner on the beach. This bed is crazy comfortable, Shauna says, her voice already drowsy. Are you relaxing? Yes. I say, and the power snaps back off, as though it's some kind of lie detector, and the boys keep splashing, and the ocean keeps crashing, and I flip through pictures of volcanoes while a mile or two away people sleep in cinder block houses with no doors and bars on the windows. In the morning Owen and I find fistfuls of cone shells at the north end of the beach, pink, beige, gray, bone white. Paradise birds hang a quarter mile above us, never seeming to flap their wings. After breakfast we troop to the south end of the beach, where an Australian surfing coach named Gavin tells us that he has been hit by stingrays 3 times in 3 years on this beach. Nothing to worry about, he says, and we head out with boogie boards and play all day in the big, steady shore break, getting walloped by warm walls of water. Every time I look up, my sons are grinning from ear to ear. None of us is stung by anything. Advertisement. Continue reading below. After lunch I sit for a moment and try to be present. Maybe, I think, the real luxury is time. A week to rest, to not have one's guard up. Then I check my watch, there's a hike leaving from the lobby at 4 p.m. If I hurry I can make it. Maybe, I think, the real luxury is time. A week to rest, to not have one's guard up. The next morning we shake the hand of a driver named Jimmy and pile into the back of his van as he plies the Pan American Highway, a shooter's gallery of horses and bicycles and oxcots and three-wheeled jalopies and donkeys and chickens and pigs. Jimmy misses them all, employing his horn with the finesse of a master linguist, a beep to say hola to a passing bus, a blurb to alert a donkey carter veering too close to the center line, a BWAAH to express annoyance at a truck clogging traffic on the way into Granada. We pass 100 roadside pulperias, each named for a woman, Pulperia Olivia, Pulperia Diana. On their counters women lean, waiting for someone to stop and buy a Fanta. We pass oceans of sugar cane. We pass an iguana crossing sign. To reach a cloud forest high on the flank of a volcano called Mombacho, we pile out of Jimmy's van and into a Toyota Hilux pickup and start up what seems to be a 40-degree incline in first gear. The tires slip here and there, the engine screams, "Relax now." Shauna asks, smiling and bracing herself with both hands on the roof of the truck. Atop the volcano, shrouded in cloud, we stick our arms up to the armpits into a smoking fumarole to feel the heat emanating from the earth. Our guide, Armando, points out an orchid that blooms for only one day before it begins to die. Far below, in Lake Nicaragua, we can see the Isletas de Granada, 365 tiny islands that are the remains of the top of this volcano, which was blown off a millennium ago and landed in the lake, 4,000 feet below. On the walk back to the trailhead we spot a sloth high in a tree, a wet spear of fur tucked among the epiphytes, and we wait a few minutes to see if he'll show his face. A Spanish idiom comes winging out of the cobwebs, despacio que tengo prisa. A literal translation is, slower that I'm in a rush, but what it really means is that sometimes doing things in a hurry is less effective than taking one's time. On the trip back down the volcano, again in first gear, the engine howling, we pass a coffee picker heading along the road with a sack of coffee cherries on his shoulder. Armando asks us how much we think the sack is worth. $1,000? I guess, $5, he says. I look back up the mountain as the man recedes into the forest. $5. Could I move up and down this terrain, through the mud, carrying an increasingly heavy load, and harvest enough coffee cherries in 8 hours to fill that sack? Conceivably. Maybe. For one day. Advertisement. Continue reading below. Advertisement. Continue reading below. When we make it back to Mucal, we give Armando and Jimmy half of the cash we brought with us. And the rest of the night, as we are served by Luis, an elegant man who gives us Spanish lessons while we eat, who has 2 kids, who works 6 days a week, who at 11 tonight will board a repurposed American school bus with a dozen other employees to ride an hour back to his home in Rivas, where he will sleep for a few hours before getting on another bus at 6 a.m. To ride back to work the breakfast shift, my mind scrambles to make sense of the contradictions. In a country where half the people are underemployed, and where the average salary of those who are employed is only about $500 a month, what does it mean to spend $11 on your kids' chicken nachos? To sleep in a 1,000 square foot villa with air conditioning and HBO? Is it a luxury to spend your savings on something more than you have when you already have plenty? Let's go sprinting around the back of the building, and a hound pushes through a rift in a fence and roots among the weeds. Inside, all the children, 30 of them, gather in front of us, and we ask them stuff. Have they seen snow? No. Are they excited for their end-of-year break, which comes in a week? Yes. How far do they have to walk to get to school? Some almost 2 miles. That little girl MCs a talent show. Some kids sing, others do a dance number. One amazing boy recites an entire 3-minute poem about a woman named Margarita. When the applause is over, we go out back, and beside an old, uncapped well that is filled with trash and certainly deep enough to injure a child, they raise a piñata and start whacking away with a broomstick. Alto, the kids sing, bajo, up, down, our sons singing along, until the stuffing is beaten out of the piñata and everyone dives on the candy. Before we leave, I hand the teacher an envelope containing the rest of our cash, and she says that it will make their end-of-year party next week be a special. Give the boy who recited the poem the hat off my head and tell him that I too love poems, and that I think his recitation was wonderful and brave. Advertisement. Continue reading below. Advertisement. Continue reading below. I wasted so much time trying to prepare for Nicaragua. Get a handle on the place, I told myself, and then you'll be able to relax. But what I always seem to forget is that what we travel for, ultimately, is the unknown. The moments that we can't control and can't prepare for almost always end up being the most meaningful. You go into a cathedral in Paris and sit in a pew toward the back, as much to rest your feet and get out of the cold as anything else, and just as you sit down a great sheet of sound roars up behind you, as though sunshine and shadow have been made audible. The whole building seems to tremble, floor to vaulted roof, and you search for the source of such resplendence, scanning the transepts, and you realize it's a tiny woman in jeans sitting at the organ, eyes closed, only her feet and wrists moving. And yet she weaves tendrils of song through the entire space. Her little wrists shake the rafters, and your soul. 5 minutes ago you did not even know you were going to walk into this church. This is how it feels as we climb back into the van and leave the school of the divine child, as if the rafters are shaking. The plantain fields bounce past. I wipe a tear. Our sons blink out the windows. What lessons do they learn? That children everywhere are the same. That just to live is a gift. That the human mind will never be able to make sense of the contradictions of the world. In the afternoon I sit in the sand in front of the hotel and sift through pebbles for an hour. Pale green, chocolate brown, veined, pocked, glass smooth, each one is a lesson from the universe. My wife reads an entire book, the kids ride wave after wave after wave. A months-old knot inside my chest begins, slowly, to come untied. We go on vacations to relax, sure, to feed the body. But maybe a vacation is also about feeding the heart, about reminding yourself of the importance of being close to animals. The iguanas sashaying like dinosaurs around the pool, the white-faced capuchin monkey that peers down at me from a fork in a tree while I jog along a dirt road, of the importance of trying to show the world that, hey, we are Americans, we are trying to be kind, we are interested in you, even if we do get afraid sometimes. Advertisement. Continue reading below. Maybe the real luxury is reminding yourself that the world is safer, and warmer, and bigger, and more surprising than you can ever predict. This story appears in the June-July 2018 issue of Town. Subscribe now.